the curtain. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. This is Shane, and welcome to Simon's show. Tonight, our special guest will be, well, Simon himself, the one and only.
Was that my cue?
That was your cue.
All right, okay, I'm coming in. Hello, good evening, ladies, gentlemen, Perk, Ty, anybody. Where's my headphones? Hello, Shane. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Tonight, I get some tips from the master himself and get to turn the tables a little bit.
Shane no
Chama. Yep. Literally in my living room.
Hello, Dibble. This is Dibble from England.
Hey there, friend.
So I shall just sit back and relax and put my feet up on my desk. I'll actually put my feet up on my desk, and we shall commence the show.
Fantastic. So Simon, first question: how does it feel to be a guest on your own show?
Well, one part relaxed and one part nervous.
Fantastic.
And I've no wine. I've been off alcohol for ages.
Oh, really?
Good afternoon. Sorry, good afternoon, Dibble. Yes, you're correct. It is afternoon, indeed. So I've been off alcohol for ages to be able to fit back into clothes. And so this will be a sober question and answer session. Hi, Tomo.
I did notice you were looking a little bit extra handsome recently.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I mean, it's the lighting.
So let's see. Yeah, so Simon, how long have you've been doing the show since 2013, you said?
Well, I've been live streaming since 2013. I've been doing this show for 2 years now, nearly. About 18 months or so, yeah. But before that, I did another show for about 5 years, yeah.
And so what was it like kind of transferring from a show that you were doing with others and starting your first show?
It was kind of, luckily I'd got guests, as I was saying before. Going solo at that point and in time would have been very nerve-wracking. Hi, Bilko. Because I've been so used to sort of like being one of three and having guests as well, so that I wasn't always in the spotlight. So I was suddenly in the spotlight, and but luckily I'd got guests, so I could hide sort of behind the role of interviewer. So it wasn't too bad, but it did mean that I had to sort of be on the. And I'm still on the constant lookout for guests. To avoid things like the past few weeks where I've been on my own. Sorry, Tomo is saying she might fall asleep. That's my voice, Tomo. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sure it's me. So I have to ask, when you changed to running your own show, did that require a different skill set than you were used to?
It required me to be cleaner in terms of content and general approach, because the old show was, I mean, it's an old word, ribald or ribald. I don't know, yeah. Dirty, sort of like double entendres and all that sort of business. So, and which we could get away with because we were three old dudes, and it didn't matter. So, but I wanted the new show to be slightly more, for want of a better word, family friendly, or appeal to a wider audience than sort of blokes with cans of beer.
Well, it certainly sounds like you've accomplished that.
Yeah, it's keeping it going though. That's the tricky bit. Yeah.
So you've had a number of guests on here. Is there anyone that was a lot different than you imagined they would be once you got them on the show?
Not really. No, I mean, I met quite a lot of them in real life, so I kind of knew what to expect. And some of them, for example, we were talking before that like about Tokyo Lens, about Norm, and you see him on his channel, and he's this really ebullient, really pleasant chap, and you never know for sure, what they're going to be like in real life. But he came on and he was, exactly as he was on his YouTube videos, which is a relief. But generally, no, most people are as nice as they seem. Good word, ribald, yes. I could read a dictionary at the age of 5.
I have to say, I've never heard that word before, ribald.
It means sort of kind of...
Oh,
mildly...
yeah, I'm looking up the definition right now. Yes, we have.
Yes.
Simon, you want to tell?
Yes, I mean, we sort of... Shane was on the show, on this show, for the first time, and that was in a year that I decided I was going to go to Japan. So it seemed fairly logical to then, as I usually go to Kyoto during my Japan trips, to meet up. So we did, and it was very good.
Yeah, and I've been to that chicken ramen restaurant many times since. Do you have another Japan trip planned anytime?
There's nothing. I mean, my Japan trips are kind of wishful thinking, which then, with the aid of a mouse and some clicks and a credit card, turn into reality. I mean, I was quite surprised how. I mean, my first Japan trip was like I was motivated to go and do it, but the prospect of flying 11 hours and going on a plane on my own to Japan and so on was at once terrifying but also inspiring. But I was surprised how simple it was from just sitting behind my computer with Booking.com. No adverts, but and
in case you want to sponsor the show.
and ANA Airlines. And my credit card, and with enough time and money saved, it was quite straightforward. So, yeah, get back to the question. I would like to go back to Japan in 2020 after the Olympics, but I have not made any concrete mouse clicks yet.
I have to say, that was really surprising for me. For the longest time, coming to Japan was something that seemed really complicated. And then when I actually did it, it was pretty much just 2 mouse clicks. And I found myself on a plane. I'm like, wow, you don't have to win the Olympics or write an essay or anything. You just kind of go.
I mean, the greatest sort of barrier for me was all the administrative stuff, getting to the airport on time, making sure I was there on time, that I got all the papers, blah blah blah. And I think I was there about like 3 hours before my flight on the first time. But the first time I went was actually, it was all very special because it was the I think I've said this before on the show, that it was the first or the reinstatement of direct flights from Belgium to Japan. So it was all a big fancy, affair with drummers and flute players and the president of ANA Airlines and all kinds of like promo stuff and people in kimonos and massive press. So I was like, whoa, this is cool.
Wow, that is really cool. And so was that like in person or just like an advert, or like how did that go?
Well, it was. I obviously had decided to go to Japan, and I was like committed to sort of forking out a chunk of money. But then I noticed that this had was going off, and you got a discount. They were giving a discount for those on that inaugural flight. So I just quickly clicked, booked it, there and then. Yeah.
Have you been to many countries?
Not really. I mean, within Europe, I've been to France, I've been to Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Holland, and that's about it. And outside of Europe, I've been to Tobago and Japan. Yeah. So I'm not really a globetrotter. Don't have the funds, not really a sort of person who would grab a backpack and go off around the world. I don't look like that, really, do I? I mean, come on.
You do a little bit, gotta say.
I do. I have to. I look like a middle-aged backpacker. Oh God.
Not what I meant, but that's fair. But yeah, no, that's a lot of countries. Actually, I'm just listening to you go kind of one by one by one by one. I'm like, wow. So what's your favorite place that you've been and you can't say Japan?
The favorite place that I've been and I can't say Japan, I would have to say probably Italy. Yeah. That was long ago, more than 25 years ago. And that was my first big adventure on my own, kind of getting a plane on my own and flying to Italy. And it was nice. I mean, I went to Garda Lake, and I went to Florence and Venice and Verona and all these sort of places. Very nice. Yeah. So
why Italy? Why was that the first place that you traveled?
A lady. I was working as a volunteer at a museum, and a couple of Italian girls came as part of their university outreach program. They came to work as volunteers for whatever they were studying or something. And we, at this museum, the volunteers lived in houses around the museum, sort of owned by the museum. As part of their payment, as it were, for working as a volunteer, you got free accommodation. So these Italian girls were then allocated spare rooms in people's houses, and this one particular Italian girl was allocated a spare room in my house. And even though her boyfriend came over sort of one of the weeks that she was there, I still felt inspired to go and visit her, which I did, and stayed in her parents' villa in Reggio Emilia, in a room under the stairs. But that was the reason I went. It's always a lady with me. Yes, it is, Dibble. Really, yeah. Oh, why not? Hey, prep for it.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like one heck of an adventure. So,
picking grapes on her father's vineyard and that sort of thing, and having spaghetti in her friend's apartment in Venice, overlooking the canals. That was all that sort of thing. Very nice. Yeah.
Are there any countries that you would like to visit now that you haven't been to yet?
Possibly America. As I got friends there. I got my friend Mandy in New York, and it's not too expensive, and it's actually quicker to get to New York than it is to Japan. So I said I would at one point, when I've stopped going to Japan.
I can definitely recommend California.
I have friends in California as well. Yes, I mean my guest from a couple of weeks ago, the yoga teacher. Yes, I'd quite like to go and meet her in Culver City. Yeah.
Very cool. So now earlier we were talking a little bit about cycling. and you said that you've kind of cycled a lot. I was just wondering, what is so in all of your travels, do you have kind of like a path or a place that seemed kind of to stick out in your memory?
In terms of going for cycle rides or in general?
Just kind of, yeah, in traveling.
The places that stick out in my memory. Like the cities I mentioned in mostly cities I've actually been to in Italy, like Florence. That was amazing. Also been to Amsterdam. Obviously, here in Belgium, there's plenty of historic cities that are sort of worth a look. And in Japan too. Obviously, Tokyo is my favorite, I have to say, of all the places I've been. That would be a draw for me to go to Japan. You saw a launch. Comments.
Thing like a rocket. That sounds pretty crazy.
What launch of what? I mean, this will give it away. If it was a Saturn V rocket, we know your age, Dibble, or even if it was a space shuttle. For our younger viewers, they used to send spaceships up and they would fly back. I can remember being at school when the first one was launched, and we all got time off in the afternoon to watch it land on television.
Interesting. Did your family have a viewing party or anything like that?
My family, no. I mean, this was at school. I mean, I think it was science class or something like that. So everybody come and look. Ooh, it's the future. It's the future for about 10 years, and then they stopped it.
Yeah, but then they did start again. So
No, they decided this is a bit expensive. Let's find a better way.
Yeah, rather other people started.
Now they're sort of running behind China, India, and Russia. So yeah, let's make America great again. Sorry.
It's always true.
Anyway, where were we? I mean, yes. So I like particular cities and places. I mean, there are places in Japan I would like to go. The countryside in Japan. I've not really been much to the countryside, so I'd quite like to go there.
Oh, really?
Oh, you can tell me about that. I mean, you've been to the countryside in Japan.
Sure. I do currently live in the countryside in Japan. It's dark. But yeah, I would definitely also consider myself a city person.
I mean, the countryside's all right. I mean, but generally when I go to the countryside, I have a plan to come back, and not I mean, I think I've spent more time sort of at hotels or accommodation in cities than I have in the countryside. I mean, when I lived in the countryside, it was easy. I just go out of my front door, and when I worked at this museum, for example, or the historic house, it was very easy. But actually having to put effort into it and spend days there, I'd rather do that in a city because more to see, more things to do.
When you worked at the museum, did you have a favorite area of the museum, a certain kind of attraction towards any of the exhibits?
Well, the museum comprised of a historic cottage and also a regular museum. Now, the historic cottage was nice because it was a historic cottage, but I had to give guided tours there, and that was a bit of a task. But museum, I enjoyed the sort of behind the scenes, sort of in the sort of the offices and workshops at the back, where you actually, what I liked about museums was that when you worked there, you were allowed to touch the exhibits. Well, that kind of thing. You know, the public eye could only see it behind glass cases and so on, historic objects. I can remember once having a painting by a mildly famous romantic English painter from the 18th century, carrying it through, and somebody said, "Oh, that's worth about £40,000," and I was like carrying it, you know, quite happily. And
you're just like, oh, let me just.
Burke says he liked the 18th century Italian ribaldry section. Yes, and the fun part about museums is actually sort of working with the you know, the museum, you know, contents. Also, you're interacting with the public, so I was kind of forced to interact with the public, which actually was very useful for me because it boosted my confidence and enabled me to pass my driving test, of all things.
So do you think like those early years kind of interacting with people and leading around the museum that might have helped you later when you were doing your podcast?
When I was doing my what? My podcast. I keep calling it a podcast. I'm not on that.
Yeah, your show.
So it did. I mean, but also what helped was my years as an art student doing video art and things like performance art, where you've got to, you know, be behind the camera or in front of the public doing weird stuff and not be too bothered about it, you know. But that was before I went and did guided tours, so I was still nervous before doing that, but less nervous after you've done like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guided tours to thousands of tourists. You know, you kind of, it's like water off a duck's back doing this sort of thing.
Oh, I didn't know that you did video work as part of your art student.
Well, yeah, I did a degree in fine art and specialised in video art, video and film. It was mostly video. Didn't do much in the way of film. So video art, yeah, which is
so
very
at the
necessary.
time,
Sorry, yeah, your show.
at the time, did you have any like? Oh, we're getting some like crazy feedback right now.
Oh, that's a train going past. I don't know. Wait.
Oh, okay. I was just like, oh, it's very loud. All right. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, at the time, did you have any people, any big influences on your video work? Any like directors you looked up to and stuff?
Not really, because I mean, when you say video art, you have to distinguish that from art film, right? Like people think of art movies, sort of arty movies. And I've seen people like Jean-Luc Godard and Eisenstein and so on, which are arty, but they are more movies. Whereas video art and art film, if you've ever seen it, you know, it's you can take it or leave it, kind of. It's very, very, very esoteric and very leans heavily towards conceptual art. And the sort of art that people turn their noses up when they go to galleries, that sort of thing. You hit the like button because you like this. I thank you, Brett, for it. I've now had one dopamine hit. I can't
certainly go through and hit the like button too.
Did I have to speak several languages on the tours? No, we had. I think we had some volunteers who could speak different languages, and we had a Japanese woman because we got lots and lots of Japanese tourists because it's the Lake District, and it's very sort of similar, actually. Looks very similar to areas of Japan, which is why it was my theory for why a lot of them come over to visit. But we had a Japanese girl who came and did those tours for us. But where were we? Art video. Yeah, I mean, it's so basically what you do with art video, you get a camera and you come up with an idea and you then try to make a video about it, much like YouTube, really, but weirder.
I can't let that go. How so?
Well, you generally you have an idea, or usually philosophical in nature, which you then try to, using the medium of video art, you attempt to then put across this idea in some way, or not necessarily, and it doesn't necessarily have to be explicatory in the sense of, it's not like a how-to video, how-to philosophy video. No, it's more, if anybody's ever willfully looked at conceptual art or minimalist art or that kind of stuff, and you stand there, you scratch your head, you think art, you mess about with the editing on really cumbersome old-fashioned VCR editors, and nothing is scripted, or if things are scripted, it's weird. It's mainly to evoke a reaction or a feeling in the way that conceptual art is. The worst part about doing that course was actually having to sit down with the lecturers after you produced work and explain it to them.
Like giving a presentation on why a joke is funny.
Yeah, basically, because most video art is not self-explanatory. You can look at a painting, as long as it's not abstract, and you say, "Oh, that's it's a painting of such and such," and it's I can see the techniques, I can see the art, it tells a story. And the thing with video art is, because it's so like just regular video, because it's moving pictures, it's like this. People have particular expectations, which are then the rug is then pulled from under their feet, and it's like, what the? it's all about, and then you have to explain why it's what it means, and I got a bit tired of doing that, really.
So, despite that, I really have to ask: did you have a favorite video art that you produced?
Did I have a favorite one? I had one, and it's not. I did one. There was a story by Franz Kafka called "The Prisoner" or something like that, where a guy is accused of an unknown crime. He doesn't know what it is, but his penance or his punishment is it's on some island or something, and the story is told from the viewpoint of a couple of soldiers who have to guard him. And he's tied to a machine, and his crime is written on him with those old style ink nibs from handwriting ink. Whereas the machine consists entirely of thousands of these things, like hard steel nibs with ink flowing in them, and he's tied to the machine and rotated, and the ink nibs sort of move down and start writing his crime on his body, and then they just get sort of deeper and deeper and deeper until they're cutting into his flesh, and that's the way he's executed. It's a very bizarre story, and I decided to make a video about it. So not quite sure how successful that was. It was all done in studio with lighting and sort of actors and things, but it doesn't quite turn out as I anticipated. But yes, I mean, that's the sort of thing we did. This is what I got a grant to do.
That would make for a very interesting YouTube video.
Yeah, it'll probably get banned or demonetized or something, or flagged. But yeah.
Next week on Simon's Living.
Death by pen.
Yeah, that could be your hazing for your next guest. Oh yeah, you can just strap on in. Ooh, what's that do? Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So basically, yes. I mean, none of my YouTube videos look like that anymore. I mean, they're all very harmless.
Yeah, I was interested in Kafka when I was studying a lot of literature. Are you an avid reader at all?
Not anymore. I mean, in my late teens and early 20s, I sort of discovered Kafka, and I thought, wow, this is cool. I think I read the classic one where the guy is accused of something and doesn't know what it was. The Trial, that's it, The Trial. And I read a couple of short stories, and I read Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is, I think they've made a film about Metamorphosis, but that would make a cool YouTube video. A guy who wakes up and discovers he's turned into a centipede.
Yeah, that's the one that was required reading at my college, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, so his family like tried to kill him because they're scared shitless.
So like normal families.
Yes, I could recommend that story to everybody. You know, if you want to sort of like do your head in, read Kafka.
Perk has also read it. Now, so let's see. What other questions can I ask? When was the last time you woke up as a bug?
Probably about 3 o'clock every morning, you know, and I need to go and pee.
So you've done this for many years now. How do you come up with your questions, and are there things that took you a while to learn?
Coming up with questions for guests, it requires like plowing through guests' social media, and quite a lot of the guests are YouTubers that I know. So in my conversations with them, I weed out things that I'd like to know. And those that I don't know, those that I've never met before, I generally, if they're interested in a particular subject, or for example, the 3 shamisen player women that were on a few weeks ago. I mean, I'm relatively familiar with shamisen history and playing and so on. But then I also looked on their website and looked at their biographies that they put on there, and then went around that and looking at things that they were interested in and questions that might relate to that. So basically, a bit of field work, and usually this is why I like to get guests early, so that it gives me a chance to do some research. The things I've learned: yes, get guests early if you can. Make sure things run smoothly. It's not always the case. Basically, setting up for the show is important. Generally, I spend my entire morning setting up, or the night before as well. Lord of the Flies. Ah, yes, that author as well. I've read stuff by him. I forgot his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember offhand either.
He also wrote the Triffids, I think.
So after doing the show for so long, do you have any advice to others who might want to start up their own show?
Yeah, just do it. It's dead easy. Basically, I mean, if you're going to do solo shows, you have to really think hard what you've done in your life in order to talk about stuff, or if you may be one of those lucky people that does lots of stuff, and then you can talk about it. So just do that, but also make sure you've got an audience. Hello, audience. Thank you, William Golding. That's it. Thank you. An audience. I mean, the point of doing these shows, really, unless you're a total egomaniac, is to interact with the audience. It is for me, and going onto YouTube live, unless you're some kind of trying to promote yourself as a YouTuber and a brand and everything, and you're not too bothered, then that's to me not some kind of the podcast that I wouldn't watch. I have to be careful. I have to steer a fine line between interaction and projection.
That makes sense. So I guess with that, I just want to address the audience because Simon is in the hot seat tonight. So if you guys have any questions that you
wanted
to ask Simon, feel free to throw them in the comments.
Yeah. Things run smoothly. Yeah, it doesn't always happen to Tokyo Drew. Yeah, but I mean, I certainly didn't happen when I was on his show. That was a complete disaster, and he ended up being on my show instead. Yeah, I mean, have you never considered going live other than doing this? This is your third. I mean, now you've had three goes at going live. Yeah,
it's true. I've thought about it.
I mean, you do a lot more things than I do.
Yeah, I keep busy for sure.
I mean, to talk about sort of thing.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll start my own show at some point, and I can have Simon on as my guest.
It's like a mutual appreciation society.
Well, let me ask, have you been on other people's shows before? And how was that?
I think I've only been yes. I mean, in the old days, when I had my other show, we were on Give Me a Freight Man and Hiko Simon's show, 2.5 Yards. We're on that twice, if not 3 times, and they were on our show. So that was fun. We basically took over.
5 Yards in total.
Yeah. And then the only other show I've been on since I started doing this one was Dave Trippin. I don't know whether you know Dave Trippin.
Yeah.
That was because I wanted him on my show, but he decided he was going to have me on. He was going to do his Ask Me Anything show, and I was going to be the guest on that. Unfortunately, he didn't save the episode, so that's the lost Simon no茶の間episode.
Maybe it's on the program somewhere.
Brentford ask a question. What part of Japan have you not seen but would like to visit, explore? I would like to explore the northwest of Japan, sort of like the Japanese Alps area, that side of it, like north of Tokyo, northwest of Tokyo, and just for completion, northeast of Tokyo, sort of Fukuoka and Tochigi and those areas, and also just for completion, a little bit further west than I usually go. I usually sort of stop at Yamaguchi, but I would go maybe even into Kyushu, just to say I've been there. Hokkaido, I might quite like to see Hokkaido, but it's flat mostly. I'd like to see the hilly bits if there's any.
Tomo said she just woke up. Good morning.
You woke up. You missed everything, Tomo. Nosh Bros. Hey, Nosh. Still awake. Glad you could join us. Yamagata and Akita. Akita, yes. I read all about the Akita dogs and how they were saved from extinction by Michinoku Coastal Trail. Is that northwest? Yeah, those areas. And the trouble is that, I mean, you can get to some of them with the Shinkansen, but the others you have to get to with really long trains or long bus journeys, and you have to sort of, be able to read Japanese bus stop signs, which is.
I've always been a little bit intimidated by traveling in Japan, as someone whose Japanese is absolutely terrible.
What did you talk about? We talked about weird video making, Italian cities. What else? Shikoku. Shikoku, yes. I mean, I was near Shikoku. I could have gone, but I didn't.
Shikoku, where's that?
That's where Tomo lives. Tomo lives. It's the fourth or the third island. Yeah, there's 4 main islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Kyushu, and Shikoku. Shikoku it's sort of like to the right of Hiroshima and down a bit in the sea because it's an island.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I'd love to visit there sometime too.
Tomo can vouch for that.
I think they get really bad storms down there though whenever it rains. I think there's a J vlogger in Ehime that was pretty big.
Sherry Berry, yeah, I've been trying to get Sherry Berry on the show since 3 Old Dudes, but it's been a complete failure. So what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done while drunk? Oh dear. That would have to go back about 30 years, 35 years, or something like that. Stumbling around town drunk with a friend, going into pubs, calling out the name of a girl that I was in love with, going into each pub and saying, "Are you here, so and so? Are you here?"
Your commenters are right. It is always about a girl.
This is. I'm sweating because it's warm, not because of the questions.
the extra hot seat. Kagawa. I have like a map pulled up on the other side too.
There's a moment of silence there.
Yeah, I was just looking over the comments. So
I'll tell you what. We've got 12 minutes left. I'll put. I spent all morning doing this. Here we go, and I'll go to playlist. These are places. Hang on, wrong one. Yeah, I'll set that going. These are aerial shots of all the places I've lived in England. So that's for anybody. This is in northwest of England. I lived there until I was 4, near this reservoir.
So unfortunately, I think at least on my screen it's cut off, and I think it might be cut off on the live stream too.
What? What's cut off?
I can see half of the footage.
That's yeah. Sorry, yes. Hang on. I'll just move the window. It's probably because of. Is that better?
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can do that because I've got 2 apps. 2 apps, sir? Would you like 2 apps? Yes, I'd like 2 apps, please.
Oh, it looks like a perk had a question. So, Simon, how many girlfriends have you had? The world wants to know.
Oh, that's very easy. 2.
2.
2.
They were guessing 1,000. So,
I'll be lucky. 2. 1 became my wife, and now is ex-wife, and 1 after that.
And endless suitors.
I'd also be lucky. I don't get out enough.
How can you when you're running the best show in town from your living room? Speaking of getting out, so all of this, is this drone footage that you took?
No. This is, I'm not bothered about copyright claims or anything. This is just like stuff I randomly downloaded from YouTube this morning. I just typed in the names of places I've lived and put the word drone next to it, and then found the shortest and clearest videos that I could of each of those.
Oh, wow.
So these are various places. I mean, I could explain them all, but it's rather dull. But I just thought it'd have some visual interesting.
That's very interesting. So where so what was your hometown?
The longest I've lived anywhere in England consistently is, if I switch to this, is there. Not in that monument, but in that town, Ulverston, in Cumbria. You'll see it in a minute. You can see the monument, and I lived not very far from the monument. So that's the shortest canal in Britain. That little canal there. It's about there's the monument, and I kind of lived down the front of that hill in a to the right here. And my parents moved, but they moved just slightly closer to that hill. So every time we go back to visit my parents, we go for a walk up that hill. Yeah. So that's it.
Perk has another question for you. Oh boy, what emotions do you feel when they say the word Jar Jar Binks?
Just total numbness, really. I mean, you're looking at someone who's nearly 54, and I got excited by Star Wars at the age of 11 when it came out, and I was excited by Star Wars still by the age of 14 after the third film. And by the age of 15, I'd kind of lost it with Star Wars. It didn't really bother me after that.
Do you still enjoy watching films?
Occasionally. I haven't been to the cinema for a long time. The trouble with having done YouTube and video making and all that, it's like I can't suspend my disbelief long enough, if you know what I mean. It's any favorite Japanese movies? I like Seven Samurai, and I like Rashomon, and I like what else do I like? The name of the movie I can't remember, but there was a nice movie about not all Japanese movies are sort of make you feel good. Most of them are sort of very melodramatic and depressing. But this one was a movie about sort of various people living in a particular area. It was just pleasant family, not even family, but just a pleasant movie. I can't remember. I'm not being very helpful here, but yes, it was a nice movie.
Yeah, usually all those Kurosawa films are really good. I haven't seen any of them that I didn't like so far.
I haven't seen any of his films in color yet. I've only seen the black and white ones.
Same. I've only seen the black and white ones. Cost too much. Oh, Departures. Departure is very good, actually.
That's the Japanese one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I've heard. The name sounds familiar. Can you remind me what it's about?
Oh boy, it revolves around funerals. My wife is the one who showed.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, Perk says it's an embalmer.
Yeah.
That sounds very Japanese. Typical sort of
Yeah, the beauty of the job and the stigma around the job. It's a really good one. Funny story real quick. One of my favorite Japanese film directors is a man named Shion Sono. Mm-hmm. And I told that to a buddy of mine here, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I was in one of his films." I was like, "What? Really?" Yeah, turns out he was like an extra. So next time I watch the film, I just gotta look in the background and be like, "Hey, where is it?"
I have been an extra in a television drama. Yeah, right. I just had to sit. I just had to sit there and look intellectual. Which is
How you do that every week?
for hours, and the shot appeared only for like 10 seconds on the screen. And I remember the main actor got very upset with the director because it was taking hours and hours to get this shot right. Well, we didn't care. We were in a film. Ooh, and we got paid and we got free lunch, which was good.
Hey, that's fun. How'd you get that gig?
Because I was working as a volunteer at the museum where they filmed it, and they just grabbed all the staff and made them appear as an audience at a lecture. So we just basically had to sit there and pretend to be looking at a lecture. And I was on the front row. And I'd got a red waistcoat, a blue shirt. I'd let my hair down, which was down to my shoulders. I had a beard and glasses, real beard, real hair down to my shoulders. So just to sort of stand out, so that when I look back, I could see it.
Do we have pictures of Simon with shoulder-length hair and a beard?
Somewhere, yes. I'm not sure.
Oh, a little bit different from your style currently.
Yes, I tied it up a bit.
Yeah, just a touch. A little trim.
Tomo says we're both actors. Yes. Yes. After this, we go back to our normal lives.
This is our break, right? Between shots?
Yeah. Sort of, I go back to work and being a forklift truck driver. You go back to washing dishes in a ramen restaurant.
Now, that sounds like a Japanese movie.
Do you watch Japanese movies, Tomo? Yes, obviously. It's Japan. You're in Japan. You're Japanese. But I mean, do you prefer Japanese movies? Tom, I'm asking Tomo now. Did you prefer Japanese movies to, for example, sort of Hollywood movies? Because I mean, I generally don't. My youngest son is the only one who really goes and watches Hollywood movies anymore. I used to go with him when he was younger. We would watch sort of the Marvel things. Now, doesn't interest me anymore, and doesn't interest him anymore, really. He's grown out of that a little. You watch a little bit of them. Okay. I'm just going to switch back to my living room. That's actually for those in the background. This is the background. This is the kitchen of my living room, actually, next to my living room. As you can see, it's a very similar screen at the back and decor. This is from the Fukui Museum, Prefectural Museum of Cultural History. This is the kitchen section. Are you still there? It's gone very quiet.
Yeah, I was watching and kind of taking in the details. So where actually did you take these shots? You said it was in Fukui?
Google Images. No.
Oh, okay.
No, but I discovered I was looking in last year in my show. I was looking for the ideal Showa period living room, and eventually I tried a couple of others, and eventually I found this one, which had a kind of the right atmosphere, sort of mid '60s Japanese apartment or Japanese house, and. This is it turned out I just found the image first and used it, and I thought, I wonder where it is, and I did a Google image search, picture search, and it told me that it was from the Fukui Prefectural Museum of Cultural History Showa period room. Yeah, so it's actually there. You actually can go and see it. I mean, I did think on my last visit that I might pop up to Fukui just to sort of go into the museum and ask them if I could stand in the room.
Absolutely. What a pilgrimage that would be. And then you could have Simon in his actual
living room. Prepfrey asks, have I been to any creepy forests around Mount Fuji? No, the nearest I got to Mount Fuji was on a Shinkansen heading towards Shizuoka, so not really. No.
Yeah, about the same for me. Mount Fuji really sticks out because it is so tall.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a huge thing. You can see it from almost anywhere.
Yeah, I was really upset the first time I didn't see it, and I realized I was looking out the opposite window on the train, and I was like, I must have. Tomo says she's never climbed Mount Fuji. Simon, I assume we're both also in that category. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm in the category of don't really want to either. I mean, my friend Victor Gonzalez, he goes up regularly, and I've seen the videos, and it's like an extremely long slog up volcanic rubble, and with no, it just you can just see that it just goes on and on and on, and there's no variation in terms of if you got your regular mountains, you've got peaks and valleys and bits and things, but this is just one long slog. It seems up volcanic rubble with no trees, hardly any vegetation. It's like, why?
Do you like to climb? Have you ever climbed a mountain?
I not really a mountain as such. I've climbed up tall hills in the Lake District, and by climbing I mean I've walked up. So I've never done any actual rock climbing. I've tried it on sort of a short, small areas of rock climbing. It's quite fun, but I wouldn't like to sort of climb an entire mountain doing that. No.
I'll be honest, that sounds terrifying. I don't think I could go up the side of a mountain. And it looks like Perk and Tomo agree. Yeah, mountain climbing is.
I like the view of the mountains from the valley floor, in a nice sort of like restful, peaceful valley with trees and a bubbling brook, and a view of the mountains, and ideally a nearby pub.
That sounds beautiful. That could be your next painting.
Oh, I appear to be going. My light appears to be fading. There must be a cloud or something. I'm just going to adjust my my lighting.
Well, we are at 58 minutes now, so if anyone has any final questions for Simon, you gotta get them in while they're hot.
Oh, my green
Simon, you have an actual cloud now in your home.
Yeah, that was like the green cloud. I need to open my window and freshen the room a bit.
This week, Simon has a green cloud in his. Fantastic.
So, can I take over for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I should like to thank very much your host for this evening, Shane, otherwise known as XenoLiving, who will eventually put videos up on his channel, he has said. They could be different to the ones that you see there, which are gathering dust. There is a link to his channel in the advert, and I should maybe put one in the upload for this show. And next week is a mystery. I'm currently in consultation with one of my former guests who says he has found a stand-up comedian for me in Japan. So that could be happening next week, or it might not be. He also has some theatre friends that may or may not appear as guests. Quite a lot of the people I ask are Japanese, and quite a lot of them are too shy. So it's difficult. But next week is, as I said, a mystery. But I hope to see you all again next week, come rain or shine. And once again, I'd like to thank Shane for being a wonderful host. Over to you, Shane. You can do the closing credits.
And likewise, it's been a pleasure. And thanks, Perk and Ty and Tomo and everyone who's been in the comments. this is my first time hosting a show. So honestly, Simon, I'm just glad I had the chance for this opportunity.
So watch out next week on the XenoLiving channel for a new live stream. Oh, I've got the green cloud again. Oh no. MS, you enjoyed the interview with Professor Casada? Yes, so did I. Yes, that was a good stream, that one. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the stream now on time, and I'll see you all again next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.